All right, Shalom. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Karkadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders who written millstone. Salutations to all the brothers and the few sisters out there onto the like foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. And as you can clearly see, Salakia, as we clearly can see what I'm about to play, we are living in some interesting times of exposure. And this interesting times of exposure that we are in, we see the world of Esau unravel. All right. Now I'm about to play something, two things actually. Now I'm thinking about it. No, let me play the other one. But you could, and the thing I'm about to play, you could clearly see that the hatred between the beast and the whore is ramping up. Matter of fact, there's two things I want to play, and you can clearly, after watching this, you're gonna see that not only things are ramping up, prophecy is taking of a hold of itself. Is on its own. Is always been in his own thing, but it's clear as day that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is about to destroy Esau's kingdom. All right, because the pride that is exuded out of these people, especially Nero. There's another name I just gave him to. Fuck. And this this guy he's just out of control. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start with this one real quick.
Thank everybody very much, and I'm asked to take a few questions. Unlike other politicians, they would like the questions screened. I don't ask for screening of the questions. You can ask me anything you want. You can talk sex. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm here for you.
And this is supposed to be a professional politician, a world leader. And goes out there publicly to say that. So this is just this is just a tipping point of this man's folly on a whole nother level. Now,
he didn't think he'd be kissing my ass. He really didn't. He thought he'd be just another American president that was a loser, where the country was going downhill. But now he has to be nice to me. You tell him he better be nice to me. He's got to be. But it was really something
I'm gonna play it again.
He didn't think he'd be kissing my ass. He really didn't. He thought he'd be just another American president that was a loser, where the country was going downhill. But now he has to be nice to me. You tell him he better be nice to me. He's got to be. But it was really something he didn't think.
So what we can clearly see, this man, not only is he losing it, any little alliance that America has, he's shattering. He's publicly displaying pride, publicly displaying a whole level of arrogancy like never seen before. Okay, never seen before. This man is he's out of his fucking mind. All right, he goes into this situation, talks about the crown prince, certain things that you say publicly and certain things you say privately. If you don't like somebody, most of the times you're gonna say the shit privately, depending on the person, depending on the outcome. But he's doing this because of pride. He's doing this because he's really feeling himself. So this guy's a living embodiment of all Edomites on the planet Earth. The first one, he shows you how loose with his lips that he is. This one shows the disrespect that how far he will go. And this is one of the main reasons why America, our own allies, is going to turn on them. Now, is this going to change the relationship between America and Saudi Arabia? Not really. But a lot of people is going to have these things back in their mind. All right. One more video. I just
To make it crystal clear, yeah, this war is a catastrophe for the world's economies. The impact is absolutely evident already now after a little bit more than 2 weeks. The closure of the Hormuz Strait has an impact for all the region in the Indo-Pacific, including Australia. So this is a real impact, and at the same time, as a European partners in Germany as well highlighted from the beginning on, we have not been consulted before. Nobody asked us before. It's not our war, and therefore we don't want to get sucked into that war. To make it crystal clear, and what we need is now is a diplomatic solution as soon as possible. We need end of shooting and killing, and that is addressed to US, of course, but mainly to
which would not happen.
Iran, which is attacking its partners in the region.
So there's a great dissension amongst these nations when it comes to the results of this particular war. Because overall, Esau is taking peace from their own self. All right, and these are Edomites. The Germans are Edomites. Most of Europe or NATO are Edomite countries, ran by Edomites. So somewhere down the line, they're not agreeing with what's going on. Slack if you hear the noise back there. My dog's scratching himself. All right, somewhere down the line, they're not agreeing with themselves of what is supposed to be the outcome of this war. This is why it is not adding up per se. But what's really adding up is the prophecies. Matthew, yeah. No, I'm sorry. Matthew. Luke 11 and 18. It says, matter of fact, 17. But he knowing their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. A house divided against a house falleth. If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? So, quite obviously, if a people is divided, and like the scripture says, can two walk together at least to be agreed? So, NATO, EU, matter of fact, I got to go to that one right away, I guess. Revelation 17 and 15, it says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. The whore represent whom? America, Babylon the Great. That's the virgin daughter. All right, that's the bitch, the whore that everybody's gonna hate. Oh, like on Ice Cube had a song, the nigga. What's that? What's the song? The nigga you love to hate. Well, America's the bitch that you love to hate. All right, and it's sit over every nation. America is nothing but a melting pot of multiple two people from this very conception, from the rape and robbing, stealing of the Native Americans, and the stab grabbing Judah, Benjamin, Levi from that part of the world, and eventually everybody came over here. All nations were gravitated over here, but Esau sits above. Now you have the powers that be trying to make this place Edomites again, but which will not work. But that's how America was designed to be, a melting pot. All right, filled with different nations. That's why, hey, here in New York City, you got freaking areas in New York, depending on what, just the city itself. Upstate, can't tell you, but the focal points would be here in the city, and they got certain areas just dedicated, certain communities. Okay, you got Chinatown in Manhattan, you got Chinatown a form of a Chinatown in Brooklyn. You got a form of a Chinatown in Queens. All right. You got like a whole bunch of, you got Italians. You have the other tribes. Okay. Like Flatbush. It's filled with all the Caribbeans, from Levi, Benjamin, Judah's up in there, Ephraim's up. Like, it's just a big melting pot. So everybody's here. And though the power that be sits over everybody. And it says, and then the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So Germany's talking bad about America and Israel for us mentioning their name because the EU nations feel slighted by American Israel because who's really going to feel the effect? Remember, America's already isolated, all right, which is separated from the rest of Europe by the Atlantic. So anything that comes in the Atlantic, America can see. Anybody comes from the Pacific, America could see. Okay, but as for Europe, Europe is right there, and they're affected by every move that Israel, those rats that wear small hats, and America, what they're doing to Russia, all right, and by affecting Europe. When they destroyed a pipeline that was going from Russia to Europe, without consulting their allies, like a great friends that they are, they consulted with them, and they cut them off from being dependent on Russia. But yet they still got gas from Russia, despite America. And then you have the other avenue, Iran. So you cut them off from their supply and gave them no other option. America doesn't need the oil from over there like how Europe would need it. So Europe is put in a tight situation. Like I said, um, they're not the way they're doing things. They're not telling. They're not telling the people. So the Europeans feel slighted because at the end of the day, the people find out what's going on with these elites and how they plan things and especially when famine takes place, the people will fucking lose it and these people's lives will be taken. So there's going to be a real reason for the beast to hate the whore. All right, to hate the whore so much that it's willing to destroy the whore. So the beast is going to, and everything's just adding up. It's just like a relationship. Sometimes you can let small things slide, but as some small things slide, it gets bigger and bigger. And the thing that you should have nipped in the butt becomes like an infestation. And that's what's happening with this um, fraudulent alliance that NATO EU has with America. Now, some of the things that Trump been saying about NATO, which are true, and I believe they said that America funds majority of NATO's bills, so he had them to pay, and now which he has a right to complain about it, even though they did it without assaulting them, showing that there's a division there. But he's right about that. They should have been the first ones to go because they're the ones that benefit. That either they will benefit from this or not. but they can't do it because they're solely dependent on foreign oil. That's why Europe is considered the bottomless pit. So they do need that alliance. All right, it's not because um, they didn't tell them that's what they're mad. They're being dragged into something that they don't want to. They're not ready. They're not fully ready to get their new order in check. But things are moving so lightning speed. Things are moving fast. So they hate this place, especially England. All right, that's why the scriptures are real quick. Come back to that. Jeremiah 50. Right? No, 9. Right? No, it's a 12. It says, "Your mother shall be so confounded; she that bare you shall be ashamed." So who's Babylon the Great's mother? England. All right. This was the one that came from the seven that was the eighth, which is spoken about in Daniel. All right. And when somebody is ashamed of you, they're ashamed of you because of your actions. So England, UK, whatever you want to call it, is ashamed of America. All right. And it's clear as day. All these allies, now I got to go to Daniel real quick. All these allies realize like they're getting the short end of the stick. All right. This is not a working relationship. It's just American benefit, and their names are being dragged out in the mud publicly. That's why he says the things that he say. He say it bluntly, like he don't give a damn. Like I got all the cards in the world, and you're gonna do what I want you to do, which technically is the whore that rideth upon the beast. So you riding something, a horse, you guiding their steps, you guiding where they go. All right, real quick. Daniel's 2:40. The fourth beast shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdue all things. That was talking about the Romans, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thy sawest the foot and the toes, part of the potter's clay, part of the iron, and the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strong of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. So, which is going to get into this alliance that these European countries have with each other. They don't even take care of each other properly. I always go back because this I will never forget when I got into the camp. The thing that was going on was Greece. Greece pretty much fell. There was long ass lines to the bank, people's personal bank. They only allowed to take certain amount of money out of the bank, so they was completely bankrupt. And nobody in Europe aided them. And I remember around that time, Germany was on high. Germany always have throughout history, from World War One to World War Two, Germany always stuck out. Those are the wise men and teamers. They know how to conduct themselves. They know how to ensure everything they do, they benefit. Yet during that time, Germany were not trying to help Greece out of their bankruptcy. All right. So that proves that these nations, they're not fully together. They have a fraudulent, feeble alliance amongst each other. When this guy bombed Iran, nobody stood up to help America. Why? Because they didn't want no part of it. Their relationship is not that strong. Even though if Russia attack any European nation, then they have to invoke the Article 5, right? Even in that sense, they don't want to even aid each other. Remember all the threats that Trump been giving them. Trump been saying if anything happens to them, like they're on their own. So it's like a tick for tat because their relationship is not strong. And this is something that throughout history, European nations under Edomites always bicker, always had division. And we're seeing things play out now. It says, and as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so shall the kingdom be partly strong and partly broken. And that's exactly always got to talk about Germany and Greece. One was strong, vibrant, always getting themselves out of a situation. The other just fell apart. A country that became nothing. And the same country that it became nothing is practicing the same thing to this day, to this moment. Germany don't want no parts of what's going on. And even Spain didn't want to be a part of what's going on. France, I believe the only idiots that even participated was the French, proving that Esau is divided even amongst himself. All right. It says, and whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of man, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixing clay. So, despite going back to Revelation, because it says it right here, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate with what? ICBM nuclear missiles. And naked, and shall eat her flesh with burning, with, sorry, eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For the Most High had put in their hearts, which is their mind, that agreement, that covenant, which is the Treaty of Rome, okay, to fulfill His will. So the Lord is the one that allowed all these nations to come together to fulfill His will, to fulfill what? The prophecies of the ten horns, 10 heads, which is NATO EU in the position of power. All right. The UN chart, the UN chart has all these nations in there, and they were supposed to bring balance. But the biggest threat, the biggest alliance, always been NATO EU, which is backed by America. So that always been the threat. So the Lord put in their minds to give power to Babylon the Great, mainly after World War II. The British said that dollar was the world's currency, so they allowed America to hold um, that baton, so to speak, like a championship belt. Like, yeah, you got it. And then when they made the agreement, the Treaty of Rome, 1956, I believe it said, or 1949. I believe it's 56. They made that agreement that the dollar, America again, like over the beast, right? And whatever, and America was going to fund the beast's army and so forth. Their influences right there in America, right there in Europe. So it was just there for the moment. Now these nations, they're like, nah, we don't want no part with America. And the main reason why, especially the guy that's running it, you see how he was getting down, and he was talking shit about Saudi Arabia, We're talking about a whole bunch of shit about all these European nations, and they're like, nah, we don't want no part of it. We didn't ask for it. They didn't consult us. And the crazy thing is, America is the reason why NATO EU is even going to war with between Ukraine and Russia. All right, that was another thing that left um, the EU effed up. All right, so America does certain things and to get their allies into a trap. And what it is doing? Hey, we always could go back over there. We're gonna fuck up everything for you, and we're gonna go back to our land, our country, and live good. While you guys go down the drain. So these nations they're getting tired of this shit. All right. It says, for the Most High put in their hearts to fulfill His will, and to agree, which was that treaty. All right, and give their kingdom into the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. So for prophecy's sake, this alliance is going on. But simultaneously, all those European nations, and it became more than 10 throughout the process of time, they stood strong, united. But there's another force that's been built up, and they're seeming strong and united. Okay? And they're willing to destroy this place if it comes down to it. Right now, with the whole BRICS alliance, BRICS is job is really to help kill off the dollar. All right. So we just like in a whirlwind of hell. Brought to you by Nero 47. It says, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth." That's why these other nations, because the other nations have their own idea of the near future. In the near future, they're not bound down to America no more. All right, especially with a leader like currently have right now. They ain't trying to hear that. They're not willing to give that up. All right. So we're seeing Esau in his own household break down right before our eyes, and it's a beautiful thing. All right. And this guy, he is not this guy.
Thank everybody very much, and I am asked to take a few questions. And unlike other politicians, they would like the questions screened. I don't ask for screening of the questions. You can ask me anything you want. You can talk sex. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm here for you. Thank everybody very much.
They wasn't laughing about the joke. They're laughing about this guy. Like hot. Like this guy has no fucking class at all. And he's supposed to be leaders. All right. And he's supposed to be the leader of the free world. So like they like to flaunt. And this is how he's sounding. This whole shit is a fucking joke. But it's the Lord that's doing this. The Lord is the one that's stirring it up. And that's why we in the book of Revelation, the unveiling of these people that's in power. All right. How sick and deranged is this man? And this is not the first thing. Yeah, he said last week. Last week he said to the Japanese prime minister, Why you didn't tell me about Pearl Harbor? Who knows about surprise more than Japan? Why you didn't tell me about Pearl Harbor? Right? He just say anything out of his fucking mind, which makes him a very dangerous person because he's gonna piss off the right people. He's already pissing people off, but he's taking it to a whole nother level. So things are playing out beautifully through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So with that being said, shalom to the elect of the nation is Shalom.